Stay with us. And we're back with Edgar Kosgei, and joining us now is Dr. Justice Juma, Leader, Justice and Freedom Party. Thank you so much for your time, sir. And we proceed with the discussion. We've talked about the Jubilee aspect and the joining in of Wiper and Chama Cha Mashinani on the bandwagon of Jubilee. But we now cross over to the elusive Luhya unity. And before we delve deep, let's take a look at what has been playing out in ANC and Ford Kenya all together, and we come back to react on the same.
What the country needs from the ministry are definitive messages on the way forward. As the bag continues to remain with us, it is expected that the Ministry of Education could get bona fide leaders of the key stakeholder entities in education in a constructive dialogue to reflect together and plan the way forward. So far, the Ministry of Education has only made random and ad hoc pronouncements. These casual and abrupt statements have mostly been given in the sidelines of Ministry of Health briefings on COVID-19. We
don't want to preempt the decision the registrar is going to make. But we believe and we have no doubt that we are legitimately in office. We shall legitimately remain.
Bit of a mix-up right there on the first clip, but all the same, gentlemen, I know you are alive to the fact of what have been playing out on the ANC party and also the Ford Kenya party, knowing very well that the court upheld the sitting of Moses Wetangula as at now. And I know that mostly when you find these political leaders, they would not prefer discussing, issues to do with other parties. But I'll put you to task to address this, because you are the very same people who are supposed to ensure that parties function as it is and multipartisan is a success. Dr. Justice Juma, when you see these differences that are culminating within the ANC, culminating within, of course, Ford Kenya, not forgetting the Jubilee Party, which has had the longest of tough times ahead, and now officially NASA is clearly not there. What do you make of the politics of the country?
Well, political parties are regulated by Register of Political Parties, and they're regulated by Political Parties Act. Each political party, when they are registered, normally submit to the Register of Political Parties their own party constitution, or some people call it bylaws. That is the system that governs every political party. And the internal mechanisms of how the political parties are governed cannot, as you've said, be interfered with by other political parties, but can only be guided by their own ideologies and the constitutional manifesto. And should there be concerns, like right now issues are arising with the Ford Kenya and other political parties, there are provided mechanisms that they can explore. I don't see why it is the PR they are treating us to. I don't, as a political party leader, I have no, even ODM or any other political party, I have no constitutional mandate within any given political party to do internal interferences.
But we are deliberating on the politics of the day, because at the end of the day, it is on the public domain, and we need to discuss, especially these differences that are there, the factions that keep cropping up, within different parties. What does it speak about, the moral ground of politics in the nation? Generally,
most of the political outfits within our country for a period, we inherited a colonial system, which was replaced by old guards. And the old guards were unpicked from tribal basis. And remember, the colonialists invested more on the divide and conquer using the tribal line. And this had been sustained by subsequent leaders who inherited these systems from the colonial era. And actually has cost this country enormously. It has cost us a lack of proper ideological driven leadership. It has cost us a lack of proper citizens' participation in democratic exercise. It has cost us the proper economic development that is citizen-centered. And those are the challenges we are having with certain specific political outfits. And I think right now, a number of them are struggling even with their own internal democracy, because proper ideology that holds the members together, it lacks. Majority of them are just geared towards, sometimes I call them the tumbocrats. Those who think with their stomachs instead of thinking ideally around the interests of the nation. And these are the challenges we are facing today in our country, which need resolution. And this corpus will continue as long as political parties do not arrive or stand up to the current change request, which require Kenyans to be led or parties to be governed by ideologies which are relevant to current dynamics of the society we live in.
That would be a polite way of taking us back to when, of course, the colonialists had not set foot in Africa or in the majority of the countries that they had colonized. But that would be a huge conversation to delve deep into. And we would even ask ourselves whether indeed democracy is in existence at all. So, Edgar, coming to you. I mean, picking up from what Doctor has left it at, we ask ourselves, the elusive Luhya unity, the differences that we witness today, they've all been culminating from bad politics in the country. What do we do moving forward? So at least we are able to sanitize this and we get some level of, credibility when we're talking matters politics in the country.
Linda, I know you're asking me a question about your community.
Yes.
Because I know where you come from.
You have decided to proceed.
Yes. But we have to talk about the reality in the country. Why are we uniting? Why are we talking about unity?
Yeah.
Is it all about Luhya unity on its own, or it's all about the Kenyan unity in itself?
Yeah.
Now, there's someone who was asking to be educated about a community being united. And he was saying that a community should be united to negotiate for the resources from the presidency. But that one, I think, is a wrong way of facing things as Kenyans.
Right.
So how are we going to talk as Kenyans when we are thinking communally, as in being a community people?
Okay.
Now, let me talk about Luhya community.
How possible, before you even go to that, how
Yes.
possible is it for us to discuss politics, to talk unity without looking at these individual, tribes, ethnic communities and all that?
Yes, Linda, it is possible to talk about community unity without thinking about community.
Ujamaa in Tanzania?
Yeah, no. It should idealistically, we should talk about unity as a nation without saying your name is Kosgei and your name is Linda.
All right.
That is the ideal way. But we have known our history to be, we are people who look back at home. We are people who are anchored back at home. We love our communities. I have my identity as Kosgei. You have your identity as from somewhere else,
Yeah.
And this is how we have run our lives since the time of Tom Mboya. Tom Mboya tried to explain that thing in his section paper number 10, but we have never gotten it. So, Linda, in the ideal sense of unity, we should be united as a country, distributing resources in a united way, going without thinking that I'm coming from a certain direction. That is ideal, and that is what should be done. But what is happening right now, we have to understand that we as Kenyans, we know that I come from a certain tribe, and the president comes from a certain tribe. So we have to solve issues like Kenyans.
Well, I would want to argue it this way, that we say charity. I'll play the devil's advocate and say that charity begins at home. So probably we need to pick it from home first, from that family setup, cross over to the community, within yourselves, and then I'll extend that unity, extend that love across. But if this is not felt at that level of the ground, it becomes impossible to even come and unite the nation.
Yes, that's why I was saying, when you have things in a right manner, when you do things in a truthful manner, then we will not have to go back to the community and come back from the community. But now you are right also when you're saying that we have, charity has to begin at home. You are right. And if we start it that way, and if our hearts are open to unite the whole country from our home, then so be it. But when we start talking about community issues, then and then after that we use community as a weapon against another community, then we are getting lost.
So the much sorted Luya unity is really a misplaced idea.
Let me now talk about Luya unity. Let me go to your local home. Mm-hmm. The biggest question is, Wetangula is a Luya, Mudavadi is a Luya. Why are they not coming up with one leader, even though they were in NASA coalition? It means first, even before we talk about anything else, there is a problem between Wetangula and Musalia Mudavadi. Mm-hmm. But if charity begins at home, then Luya Nation, Nani Atuoli should be speaking to Eugene Wamalwa, should be speaking to Wetangula, and should be speaking to the Amani coalition boss, so that they can come together and they can start that charity from home. But as Kenyan, if things were right, I will not advocate for tribalism. I would want us to do things the right way. But where have we ever done things in a right way? Even in the most advanced democracy, in the US, we are talking about Black lives being of paramount. We have never achieved that. So let's solve our problems as Kenyans. If we have to go community-wise, let's go community-wise and do things the Kenyan way.
All right. Well, interestingly, Daktari, yes or no, do you suppose the march sought for unity, in different parts of the country is an undoing, and would be something that would threaten the unity of the country at large?
Yeah, that's the worst cancer this country needs to completely eradicate.
Right.
Because the tribalism or the tribal kingpins at play. There is reasons to why most of the communities have been denied quality leadership. And the kingship, as I mentioned earlier, were used to divide communities and use the others. And most of them, because when you're talking about political parties from Luya community, there are about three. We have New Ford Kenya, we have ANC,
right.
We have Ford Kenya itself, and all the political parties are registered based on...
Why do you confidently say New Ford Kenya, yet we know very well that was dissolved? And I mean, we also know the battles that are ongoing right now, and of course proceeded to court.
Well, pardon, the New Ford Kenya is gone, but simply means it was Eugene negotiated with it, and right now is in the cabinet itself.
Okay, all right.
Just raising the new various different ideologies within that region.
Yeah.
And these political parties are registered on ideologies, and they're very different, very diverse.
Right.
And they can only form alliance if they all come together. So with that divergence, we could only actually listen to them if they had proper working unity towards certain agenda. Then it will be a national issue, because for a political party to be registered, there are certain basic requirements. It must have a national outlook, and the national outlook must have regional presence. So when you reduce a political party to just a community, and you're using it to address community unity, then again, that violates the Political Parties Act as required by Kenya, Kenyan Constitution. And should we go in that direction, again, those are the changes, which to me I feel is very archaic thinking. The dispensation we are in a dispensation where we have a generation whose parents are not purely a breed. You see, like Obama, you're telling Obama you're not American. you are probably an Arab or a Muslim. It did not make sense. He ended up being what? A president of the United States of America.
Yeah.
And that was 8 years, or actually over 10 years ago. And here we are in Kenya, where our community has really crossbred. I would not know the proper tribal breed of Linda's child or another person's child. If you were to tell them about their tribal outfit, you will really divide that this generation. Actually, it's Christ. That's why I say is archaic. And having that as an instrument of political presentation, then I think that is an element that defeats itself even before it begins.
All right.
I would urge political leaders to rise to the occasion and look at the current needs, which actually also can make Kenyans be equal within the face of humanity. And these needs are all in our face. We are at a moment when we are dealing with a pandemic, where a majority of us are not just fighting for life alone, but we are fighting for our way of life. We can't go to church. We can't go to school. We can't do the little things we do. I can't even greet or shake hands. So if all these things are not addressed, people have lost jobs, people are being thrown out of homes. I expected leadership to be resonating with these needs at this hour. We should be discussing how we can protect people from losing their jobs. I'm sure even a media house like this might be threatened with pay cut, isn't it? And people are losing their jobs. Those should be the issues of discussion. Finding those myopic, and these are the questions and the response we've been giving President Uhuru Kenyatta. It is a time for leadership. It's an opportunity. Every crisis is an opportunity. How you use it determine who you are. And this crisis cannot be wasted by exposing us to unnecessary selfish gains. This was not the moment to pull those hard tackles.
But they say life continues. I mean, you cannot just stop everything else, put everything else at a halt, just because you're dealing with COVID-19. That's what they would argue.
Well, the pandemic, life continues, but at what expense? You cannot build your empires and rejoice when other people are losing their lives.
Okay.
There are moments when we're talking about a crisis, Linda, is not just a Kenyan issue. These are global issues. We've seen how other societies have responded to it. We've seen how other governments actually have even come up with relief measures. We've seen how systems actually have mitigated proper job protection.
Yeah.
And here, the things we're treated with, the government had opportunity to set up a committee which was supposed to be looked through this pandemic within now and post. And the post committee is where we expected our best foot forward. Instead, our friends have decided to look for interesting politicians, interesting businessmen, and they've decided to reward their cronies. Even I have nothing against former Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga, but putting him as the chairman of the committee, the disaster, the committee, definitely is a waste of opportunity because he lacks the energy. His attention is so divided.
He has so much to deal with?
Exactly.
Okay.
These were the moments when you needed real pure energy, and people, you've seen Kenyans being appointed for jobs globally.
Yeah.
We have the best of the best here. We need to give them opportunity. This issue of cronyism and interesting politicians or interesting businessmen are the issues that are affecting our progress.
All right.
And this is going to deny Kenyans a chance to make proper history, because this thing is presenting us with the opportunity to rewrite our history and bring out our uniqueness and our difference in the face of the world.
Sadly, the attention is divided, and politics we have to speak as it stands right now. Coming back to you, Edgar, and we're crossing over to a different topic altogether. I mean, we've expounded much on that, but the Waiguru factor that has played out the better part of last week and coming to this week, and now revelations are that Ngilu and other 4 governors may face Oster also, and the MCAs are out here tough. These governors that we're talking about, Charity Ngilu Kitui, Salim Vuria of Kwale, Wycliffe Wangamati of Bungoma, Patrick Haemba of Trans Nzoia, and Mohammed Kuti of Isiolo. And they are facing the accountability test as Waiguru prepares to face the Senate over her impeachment process. The likes of these governors that I have mentioned are also staring a sack from the MCAs that plot to throw them out. This politics at the level of the counties, is this really going to make the best of devolution? Edgar? Edgar?
Hello.
Did you get the question?
Yes, I think I got the question partly. Unaweza uliza watu wamenifanyia nini hapo kwa screen. Sasa
wamesema pole.
Now the biggest question is but let me just say this on first.
Right.
Fighting corruption, Linda, is godly, and fighting corruption is righteous. That we are purging our country from the ails of theft and stealing and making sure that right resources are used in a right manner.
Yeah.
You know, and it is welcome to bring Waiguru to task to tell us where the money is going, and all those governors you have mentioned, all those ones. But one question is, the people who are saying that Babayao Waititu is a thief. There are people who are supporting Babayao who are saying that he's not a thief, are now saying Waiguru is a thief.
And vice versa.
Yes, and vice versa.
Okay.
The question is, where is the truth? Who is telling us, who is lying to us?
Yeah.
It means people have interests. And we are not talking about righteousness anymore. We are not talking about protecting the resources of the Kenyan people anymore. We are talking about factions. Where a very senior counsel of the Republic of Kenya, Orengo, is saying that someone is baying for Waiguru's head, that we have to save Waiguru because someone is baying for her head, not because Waiguru has done nothing wrong. Linda, this is a banana republic, and if leaders are going to stand up, and Dr. Juma, his party should tell us that he's not going to do the same thing with his party, that he's not going to follow the same ideologies that these other people are saying. Otherwise, Raila Odinga has lost it, Uhuru Kenyatta has lost it, William Ruto has lost it, and everyone has lost it, Linda.
Okay, interesting. Who's going to sanitize this whole mess that we are witnessing politically? The Senate at loggerheads, the Senate, you know, of course, at test on how they're going to deal with the Anne Waiguru's case. Doctor, looking at the events and how they've played out, and how now MCAs are coming out strongly to try and defend the sanity or what would have been the glory of devolution, what does it speak? Are they genuine? Do we suppose that there's a hand? The latest, of course, coming from Karanja Kibicho, arguing that he has no hand in this process of trying to oyster Anne Waiguru. I mean, is it politics, or is it just trying to seek justice and, you know, upholding the rule of law and constitutionalism?
Well, as I answer that, also let me just satisfy what Edgar is raising.
Please don't start campaigning.
Whether the truth is the new dawn is here.
Yeah, right.
Because our approach of leadership and is not inflicting pain or trampling over and causing the confusions that have been eluding. I mean, the confusion that we've been treated to. As our name says, we are justice and freedom. And justice, we are ruling with peace and with love according to our loyalty pledge. But we've seen what we've been treated to. We've been treated to a lot of abuse, a lot of pain, a lot of treachery, and corruption. And Linda, when you talk about corruption, corruption is a serious menace. Corruption impedes progress. Corruption is a pit that constantly goes down and has no end. And corruption destroys and damages communities. Actually, there are countries where if you are corrupt, their laws are they have very stringent measures to a point that you will be shot dead or jailed for life. That's how bad corruption is. And if we truly have to fight corruption, you cannot do politics with corruption. But that notwithstanding, we know our political system can also play and jolster with the constitutional provision. The current wars that Waiguru is facing, Waiguru is a governor in Kirinyaga.
Yeah.
And Kirinyaga politics actually has been very interesting. You know, when you talk about Kirinyaga politics, you remember the late Kanyotu, whose son married Purity Ngarishi. And Ngarishi has been a fierce opponent of Waiguru. And that is where we also have Martha Karua. And remember also we had the former governor who was dethroned by Waiguru. So the dynamics of Kirinyaga politics is a real mix, which can go either way.
Right.
When Waiguru came in, did she have the numbers for her to have effective rule within a county or the assembly? Well, those are the questions which are now arising. You've seen the way they overwhelmingly voted her out, even after flouting the COVID-19 requirements by sleeping inside the parliament, just for the purposes of making sure that she's gone. And we've seen also the political play in the national arena where we have Keleweke and we've had Tanga Tanga, and we've lately are having BBI initiative, which actually has been driven heavily by ODM leader and the president. And I know, yes, Waiguru is playing a critical part within BBI initiative. And these are the challenges which some people are identifying with. And seeing and hearing from Senator Rengo yesterday, I think their interests are driven by their BBI persuasion. And the people of Kirinyaga, I'm wondering whether their interest is BBI or what actually is their interest. And with the provisions that the Constitution provides for us, I think let's allow the constitutions to play. And if the Constitution can play well, it is there to protect the weak and the vulnerable from the high and the mighty. The moment we allow the high and the mighty to hijack the security of the weak and the vulnerable, then we lose it. Because it is there to protect the citizen. The citizen expects delivery. And by the way, we do not have some other lives. We are living only today, isn't it? This promise of maybe next 2022, who knows whether you will be there in next 2022. Whatever is done today is what guarantees whether you will be there or whether you will not be there.
All right.
So I would rather there's proper accountability mechanism that are enforced. And if it can be enforced by the national, the county assembly, so be it. Unfortunately, the current divide in the Senate is not resonating with the spirit of what the MCAs showed us, because the Senate has its own direction, and we've seen even the way they were debating about this issue. Already some people feel that already Waiguru has been sanitized. I think these are the things that will be revisited by the voters come 2022, and any person with national interest in the political arena, to me, I would rather you listen to the people.
Okay.
Or else you might really get surprised.
All right, so we are waiting to see the verdict. The 26th will be getting all these reports. Elizabeth Mutuko is constantly following up on that and will be updating you accordingly. We dropped that one, and still, of course, on the, just pick a line from what Daktari has said, crossing over to Edgar. Edgar, Daktari notes that indeed the Constitution should be there to protect the people. But sadly enough, what we see today is that it is constantly protecting the high and mighty. But again, an interesting bit right here. It has failed to, in a way, protect the high and mighty when you look at the tangles and the tussles that have been witnessed between the executive and the judiciary. Now, Chief Justice David Maraga headed for retirement, and this time around, of course, yesterday, it should be yesterday or the day before yesterday, officially takes his leave days that are likely to proceed all the way until the time of his retirement. The quest of another CJ. I mean, how genuine will it be when you look at the politics that it's playing right now? And also, when you look at the fact that, the CJ has constantly tried his level best, to incorporate, wisdom and, togetherness in how the best they can work together with the executive. But it clearly is not working out. And not to say that we support the fact that people argue that the president is on the wrong. I mean, it's hard to even strike the balance.
Now, this is a sneak. It is a sneak peek into the power struggles that are facing the Kenyan leadership. Yeah, and Maraga has only 6 months to hit 70 years, and that's why he is retiring. People are saying that he has gone. He might retire even before October, before his time comes to a close. Maraga has fought, and I am not thinking that Maraga is this person to do a lot of fighting. I'm not thinking so, but it has shown us that there is a power play happening here and there, even though the constitution is mighty, even though they are supposed to be protecting the people of Kenya, but someone somewhere wants to divert the direction of this country to another direction. But this is not new. It has happened everywhere in the world that there are people who would want the constitution to work for them and the constitution not to work for other people. So we will continue seeing all these power plays happening. But I urge the people from the Law Society of Kenya, from the activists, to protect us, because we are not safe from the politicians who are trying to finish us.
All right, thank you so much for that. Dr. I'll not allow you to react on that, but I'll bring in this other important issue. And we are awaiting another election tomorrow. Because neither Kenya nor Djibouti was able to secure the 2/3 majority expected to clinch that seat of the United Nations Security Council. Djibouti now refusing to step aside for Kenya. And then again, of course, Kenya garnering the majority by getting 113 to 78. So what does it speak about the unity of the African continent and the fact that we've also witnessed, some elections going a different direction, sad that Africa has lost? If you can remember the United Nations, the aspect of tourism, it should be the United Nations on World Tourism, something to do with the tourism side of matters. United Nations, at some point in time, were trying to front Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe lost it because Seychelles could not drop or could not, swallow their pride to leave it for them. Most of the times, these key seats we've lost because Africa is not united. Africa can not go there, in one voice and front one party and ensure that they all vote or they rally behind this person, do intense lobbying towards ensuring that we are successful. What does it speak of us?
Well, still divide and conquer. Because why drop? Because if anything, Africa should have been lobbying for more instead of being reduced. And the challenge that we're having is with our diplomatic community, and these are the things that we've been urging the president to use to strengthen our foreign policies. And sometimes we've even questioned whether do they have foreign policy in the first place. Linda, countries like China over 50 years ago, their foreign ambassadorial representation was informed by research. They were literally sending researchers out 50 years ago. And to date, you can see the impact of that effort is bearing fruits, and their representation to date still, it is a serious study which is progressive. I can see even the investment in real estate. GTC just across the other side is being a Chinese government investment. And then you can see the product of a specific regime. But our governance system has always been rewarding cronies and rejects politically who are sycophants to a political system, who, when they are sent to these other areas, all you hear about are corruption. And you saw what happened to our former ambassador in the US. He was caught up with money from soliciting money on immigration process and unnecessary things that are not adding value. And these are the things that are diminishing our effect globally. Because Kenya should have stamped its foot. Kenya, where our position, our place as it stands today, is very serious. But of course, Djibouti also, based on its location again, it is a critical pathway to the Far East. Even military-wise is a base that anyone would consider to have at this hour.
Right.
And based on those convenience, I think those are what have led to the current play which we're having. But I'm thinking is not very lost, because the number that can give us more psych to lobby more to negotiate if we are to stay or to leave.
Such was the case with, of course, that seat, the Secretary General's seat should have been, yes, at the African Union. Amina Mohammed lost, and we had all those stakes, way high, in favor of us, but it did not play out. So Kenya will await another day to see to it if we can be able to capture this seat of the non-permanent member of the United Nations Security Council. And of course, we garnered 113, like I had said earlier on, beating rival Djibouti on Wednesday's voting. So Djibouti, which launched a charm offensive campaign against Kenya candidature, got 78 voters. So we can only wait to see whether we're going to be able to take the number to the 129 votes or 128 that are required to garner that seat. And coming back to you, Edgar Kosgei, what do you make of this as we get to wind up? Or we lost him? All right, in that case, we only have like a minute or so to wind up. Daktari, as you get to wind up,
yes.
I mean, the politics of the nation, the politics of Africa at large,
well,
even as we continue to deal with COVID-19.
The CJ Maraga thing.
The CJ Maraga thing, yes. Okay.
The alternative of constitution or effective judicial process, because you tell the civility of a society, civilization of a society by their laws and their enforcements. If you do not want effective judiciary, the opposite is anarchy and lack of proper laws. We will need a very strong judicial officer. Judges should be individuals of strong character, individuals who are not induced by financial influence, but understand our history, understand our identity, and can cherish and stand to defend at the expense of any influence. And that is what Kenya needs now. Unfortunately, with the current constitutional provision to make independent various arms of government, where we have judiciary, legislature, and the executive, and the various commissions, we've seen with impunity, we've seen a lot of initiatives by the executive, and especially I'm referring to the recent executive order by His Excellency the President, which actually tried or insinuated to have Judicial Service Commission to be under the executive. And Judicial Service Commission is a very significant independent commission which is supposed to actually be the power or the alternative arm, the strong arm of the judiciary. Yeah. So the moment you usurp that strong arm of judiciary, Judicial Service Commission is what vet the judges, is what actually the judiciary is answerable to. So when you take it under the executive arm, through the presidential executive order, then straight away you are telling us that you're subjugating the roles of the judiciary and you're bringing them back to the executive, and those are the impunity behaviors which can haunt us later.
All right.
We need governance by the law, which respect the law, and the president was sworn in to defend and to protect the law of this land, and that is what he should do.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Justice Juma. Coming back to you, Edgar, now that we barely have a minute, so we can have your last take on the entire conversation of the morning.
All right, I was not online for a while because of Niko Mashinani.
Now we decided to change the location, which is okay. We still can see
I'm actually charging. My battery was low. Yes.
Okay.
Now, I want to say that about the judiciary. Let me just comment about the judiciary. We should protect the judiciary jealously. We should protect it with all costs. Whoever wants to bring down the judiciary should know that it is hard to bring it down. Every Kenyan has to stand up for the constitution that is protecting us, that is making me talk like this online. Every Kenyan has to stand up for the judiciary and for the rule of law. If the executive want they want to do their thing, they should purge themselves in their parties, and they should chart their own way in their parties. But let them leave the constitution, let them leave the law, and let people live truthfully.
All right. Thank you so much, Edgar Kosgei and Dr. Justice Juma, the leader of Justice and Freedom Party. It is now time that we take a break. I think we'll need that clip from, of course, the CJ to be taking us for this short break. We'll be coming back with that discussion on the rise of pregnancy at this time of COVID-19 with psychologist Nancy Rahab. Let's listen into that clip as we go for a break.